So now I'd like to invite our second speaker, who is Dr. Jane Tobias. Jane is a lecturer in public health at the University of the West of Scotland and recently completed her PhD in nutrition. She's a volunteer chairperson of the fundraising committee and director of the Scottish Jewish Archives Centre. She's a trustee of the Netherlee and Clarkston Charitable Trust, a Jewish educational trust that allocates funds from the now closed synagogue of the same name. In her spare time, she is a performing member of the concert party and in musical productions of Studio 32, a theatre company based in East Kilbride. So over to you, Jane. You're going to be talking about hospitality from a Jewish perspective. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm going to share my screen. I have a PowerPoint, if you just bear with. So hopefully you can all see that okay. So first of all, just to say, I'm Jewish by birth. I'm observant but not religious, but I'm very community-minded. And actually this afternoon, I met with our friendship club at our local synagogue, and we talked a lot about what I'm talking about tonight because I thought it was really pertinent, and included my own father, who sadly lost his wife in January. And I'm gently nudging him at a great age to come along and be a bit more sociable. He is a very sociable man, but one's concerned about one's own family. And one of the comments he made to me when, unfortunately, my stepmom had been so poorly, she hadn't managed to come to some of the events that I hold. And by events, I mean family dinners. He said to me, "Oh my goodness, I've really missed these." And it really struck my heart how important it was to be with family. So when I think about hospitality from a Jewish perspective, my mind goes to food. I'm not going to be ashamed at all about talking about this side of things because it's very important. But I'll echo some of Isabel's sentiments as well about hospitality, because it is, accepting guests and receiving them and entertaining them. And guests, visitors, or strangers, I think is a nice way of putting it. Everybody feels welcome. And in Hebrew, you say Baruchim Habayim, which means welcome in, welcome here. And I just thought that'd be quite nice to show that as a sort of doormat to say welcome in to my talk. So we have these Yiddish terms, nosh and fres, and you may have heard of these. A lot of Americans will know it. And to be honest, a lot of hospitality focuses around food for us and for myself. And there seems to be always a lot of food involved. And it made me think, why? Why is there food? Because we expect the unexpected, because we expect people to come. We welcome guests. And this was always as it was from when I was a child. My mother, I was one of 4 children, and my mother was a great cook, as was my grandmother. And the tables were always laden with food, more than we could eat. And it led to having enough, really, for everyone. Yes, we might have had big appetites, but there's a need to make sure everybody is getting enough food when they come and they're not actually missing out. And of course, the food has to be tasty. That's really important. As a nutritionist, I've often had people and spoken to them about food, and they've said that they had a ready meal and they just ate it. And I went, well, where was joy and the pleasure in that? They were watching television and just putting it in. So for me, it's part of the social thing is actually being with people, eating with people. So just eating by yourself doesn't really work for the hospitality side. And are there going to be leftovers? Well, I don't know. Just a few pictures, and probably you'll all recognise the bagels and the matzo ball soup, which is one of the iconic Jewish penicillin, we call it, the chicken soup. And actually, from a scientific point of view, there are things within chicken soup, clear chicken soup, that are very antibiotic. So it is truly a correct description calling it penicillin. Great when you're not well. So as well as that, what about the social eating side of things? Well, for social eating in the Jewish faith, we have many festivals. You may well be aware of them. You may know some of them. So Passover in spring, we have Jewish New Year in September, October. Before that, and just in June, we had Shavuot, which is weeks, it's called. And that's celebrating the giving of the Torah, the giving of the 10 Commandments. on Mount Sinai. So we actually eat dairy products at that time, which is lovely. So we have different festivals and different seasons, and we mark them by different foods. Of course, this social bonding, again, I think some of what Sister Isabel was talking about, is very important, because being together, doing ritualistic type of activities within the festivals really brings us all together as a community as well. And of course, at the notable events as well, the weddings, the bar mitzvahs, the funerals, and the Shiva, of course, as well. And within Shiva, we have particular foods. So Shiva is the 7 days after a person has lost one of their family members. And these 7 days are all about actually not being a hospitable host. It's about being and receiving the support to all the mourners. And in fact, you're not allowed to make any food at all. All the food is given to you by friends and family. And it's a good thing, a mitzvah, to give somebody a plate of food during this time. And we use symbolic foods. Again, most of the foods are symbolic. Bagels being round, circle of life, and boiled eggs. And these things are really important to help us heal and also look after us. And I do remember various, unfortunately, lost family members at various points, and how lovely everybody is. And it's something we reciprocate. It's part of the process. It's part of being looked after. So it's the opposite to hospitality, but it is hospitable because it's been given to us in a supporting mechanism and a supporting way. And it's really, it's a lovely community feeling as well when people are supportive. But of course, we're marking really important important things happening in people's lives as well. These, as I said, the weddings and the bar mitzvahs and so forth. So this sense of community is very important. And of course, it enhances happiness. And if I can refer briefly to the lockdown periods, we know how difficult it was for many people when they were on their own, and how many Zoom meals that were had, and how many times we were not able to meet with people that we wanted to meet with. And we know how important being with people is. And we've actually, I mean, the picture that I put up is actually a Passover Seder meal. And I think we had 2 on Zoom, and we managed really, really well. And I have a teddy bear who sat with us, and the custom is the youngest one sings a song called Manish Chana. So why is this night different to other nights? And my teddy bear has his own little kippah, so he was there as the youngest member. He wasn't very communicative, but we did manage very well. And, it's part of the fun of the festival to have this all involved. And it makes us happier to be with other people. And there's always songs at the end. If you've not been to a Seder meal, try and get along to one, because they're a lot of fun. Also, of course, widening our social network. So in our synagogue, we often have Friday night dinners and other kinds of events. And Saturday after synagogue, it's finished for the morning's prayers. Then we have also a community event called a Kiddush, where people will come and we'll have small amounts of food. So all of these things are really important, to meet people and see them. And it's actually lovely and supportive as well, because if something's happened in your life, people can actually be there for you. So I found some statistics about social eating, and I first thought this was really, really interesting. So this is before the pandemic. I just put up a wee Zoom picture there just to show you the kinds of things it was like for some of us. 60% of people never shared a meal with their neighbour. 37% had never eaten with a community group. And 20% said that it had been more than 6 months since they shared a meal with their parents. Now, I'm going to tell you, these aren't Jewish statistics, because if they had been, Yiddish mamas would have made sure that their children were at their parents' table. So a little bit of the guilt trip, but there's no way that would have happened if it's Yiddish mamas. And this is me talking from the heart, because it's all about come home, eat, we worry about you more than anything. But I think it's quite a sobering thought, though, that if that's the case, and it's so important for people to be together in this environment and be part of this community. So benefits of sharing meals and connecting socially is more important now since lockdown, I think. I don't know how people feel. I think it's more important. And a recent article that was published in 2021 in March said that there was quite a few statistics that came out, and you may well identify with some of these. How food was a source of comfort, 64% said that. 62% they were with family, which was good. 51% people said it was time to treat yourself, and 47% said it was time with family. But again, I put a Zoom image up because I feel that Zoom was part of that, and a really important part, and to make us feel less disconnected, I think, more than anything. And another thing which I think has come through quite a lot because of my nutrition head, where it's coming, that people were much more conscious of where the food came from. How far away did it come from? You know, we've got this concept of fast food, but there's also a concept of slow food, local produce, local farmers markets. And in some ways, it's helped people to reconnect with food and cooking. And again, learning from people about cooking is part of this social hospitality sphere that I feel is part of my religion. As I said, using Zoom to connect. So as well as that, other kinds of benefits you can have they're actually scientifically proven that these can actually release positive emotions. So we'll get this instinct that our brain will have that we're safe, that we're happy, and our bodies get flooded with these positive feelings. And so being in an environment where people are looking after you can really boost your mood and help make you feel that food is more than the sum of its parts. It's meaningful time together. Breaking bread with family, one of the most important loaves in Jewish religion is the big challah, which is plaited. And our rabbi's wife, Hadassah, is the most fabulous baker. And she will make a challah that is literally 3 feet long for a bar mitzvah if you ask her. And this breaks because of the way that it's made with the pleats. You can actually break it. And the breaking of bread, as we know, is a very symbolic thing, and sharing with people. And we add the salt, except for Jewish New Year when we add honey, but we add salt as well. You know, all these things are really meaningful. And doing this, handing it round by hand. And, you know, we've gone past, thank goodness, the old gloves and hopefully not so much in the way of hand gels, but we're sharing now, which is lovely. We can also, it also helps us eat slower, be healthier. And, you know, when you're by yourself, maybe it's just the idea of the ready meal and eating it really quickly, but when you're with others, it's more of a social type of feeling, and again, a nurturing feeling that's going on. Trying new things is another part of going somewhere, and new recipes, perhaps things that never been before. I mean, I love having people over and trying new things as well with them, as long as it's within their sphere and it's not too far out. And of course, the communication skills. Having people over that you haven't seen for a while, catching up with people, socializing, is all part of a lovely feeling of belonging and connecting, which I think we missed so much of when it was during the pandemic. And this can also be part of a new experience that we can have. Maybe we're somewhere different. We haven't been in that place before. And I was thinking about that today also, because we were in the synagogue and we were having tea with plates, with cups and saucers and plates. And maybe at home people just have mugs, but it was lovely to have a cup and sit and drink tea and be with people. And one of the ladies came up to me and said she remembered my sister, who unfortunately passed away a while back. Her daughter was at school with my sister, and there's a Jewish Glasgow book, and both of them were in that photograph within there of the school. So these connections I wouldn't have made if I hadn't been there this afternoon. And I think all of these things really contribute to make that kind of gathering really nice for people and really nurturing and supportive. So just a few traditional Jewish foods. I pulled up a challah picture, which is really lovely. But of course, we have latkes, most people will know about. These are the matzah meal balls in the soup. And we also have, that's a kind of gefilte fish that you might try before, and smoked salmon. And these are things that people, you know, can have and share. As I said, the challah type meal, a lot of times we have what's called family style meals, so everybody digs in. And I have in my family vegans and vegetarians and those who eat meat. So we try to have things that are as easy for people to have. And if we are going to have, in fact, we often just have vegetarian or fish because it makes life a lot easier. And it's nice for people to know that they can come, and all of the products you can buy nowadays that make things much, much easier. And therefore people feel more welcome because they know that they don't have to worry, is there butter in that? Is there an egg in that? Is it vegan? And when they come to my home, basically, I will point out exactly what they can have and what they can't have. And I feel that's really important as a host, to make people feel welcome, and also to make sure that they feel safe as well, because I think that's a really important thing. So, and I shared experience, which I mentioned before. So I just wanted to summarize, and there was one, I was thinking a lot about Abraham, because also, as well mentioned, Abraham and Sarah, they were the consummate hosts. And they were, this is where generosity of spirit is shown all the way through the Old Testament and now into the New Testament as well. He had all four sides of his tent open to welcome people at any given time. And we know about the three spirits that came to him. But allowing the guests to be given the best that he had actually gave them the protection of Abraham, but also gave back to Abraham that feeling of connectedness with the people that he was welcoming into his home. And I feel that if we can be open to others and welcome people into our home, this is going to enrich all of our lives from wherever they've come, whether they've come from far away or nearby. And I think that's where I feel the food all connects everyone together. So that's my